Good evening. This is Professor Rush back again with OO. This time, Alien OO reports his cosmic origin myth. I think you'll find this quite interesting and revealing. Here is OO and others.
John? John? Are you there, John? Is this the right frequency? We're so far off course. Now look there. Sacre ouble. You're leaving slime all over the turret.
I'm sorry, boss.
Aren't you supposed to be wearing gloves or something? Oh, you've been picking your nose? Is that what you call that? Anyway, go blow your nose or whatever you do with that. You look like Jimmy Durante on steroids. And clean up the turret.
Now. Remember what the great Nundar once said. Patience creates time for thought.
Yes, Nundar. The all-knowing Nundar. Do you think this sage ever did anything in his life besides sitting around thinking up all this Are we on? And the translator too? Hello, John. Are you there, John?
Yes, OO, I'm here. Some big nose trouble, I hear?
Yes. Cultural exchange student from way over where you can't even imagine. Remember the species sensitivity training? Well, you know I'm a pretty sensitive guy, even when I'm insulting you and the rest of your species. I'm only telling the truth. You see, I cannot have nose goo or nose liquid all over the place. They must have a diaper or nose bag or something for that, wouldn't you think? Well, no. They have these little creatures that follow them around wherever they go and clean up those droppings, which, by the way, fall from many areas of their anatomy. The problem is these little creatures, these synergistic things, I can't even pronounce their name. Anyway, these little creatures have been banned from interstellar travel because their saliva, or whatever that stuff is, along with their rasping tongues, actually degrades the metal and composites on the ship. A sad story, John, about a close friend of mine who some time back was making a run to an archaeological site, and by the time they reached their destination, the inside of the ship looked like a piece of Swiss cheese.
So, what did they end up doing with these things, these creatures you can't pronounce?
Well, actually, they were all rounded up and were an outstanding feature at the barbecue after they landed. I would truthfully rather eat a Starrock. Anyway, the ship was a total loss. So now these creatures are not allowed to travel with us. So you can see the dilemma.
So, how will you solve this personnel issue, OO?
Yes, problem solving. My first thought is to let them off at the next solar system on a planet I'm aware of. But that is a very cold planet, John, and I'm afraid their noses would freeze shut and they would suffocate. Certainly, I would never do such a thing, but I know those who would. You would call these people pirates or perhaps politicians, and certainly I would be severely punished if I did such a thing. My second choice is to do nothing, and eventually the other crew members will plot and kill all three on board. Ha ha ha. I'm only kidding here, John. I couldn't do that either because everyone loves me and tells me about their cares and woes, so I would immediately know about such a plot. My third option is to go way, way, way off the beaten trail and make a trade with someone. You see, John, this is what happens when you don't fly first class. You know, John, I was in this church the other day and I heard this very interesting story about a car salesman, a very prosperous car salesman who had two beautiful daughters.
No, no, oh. Any story that has salesmen and daughters in it is likely to be inappropriate.
Okay, then have you heard the story about the account executive who had two beautiful sheep?
No, oh, oh. This is probably just the same old story.
All right, then. Do you like limericks, John? Like, there once was a man from Nantucket.
No, no, no. Oh, oh. We can't go there.
There you go again. No sense of humor. Now, there are a couple of things I do not understand about the meaning of that limerick, but I'm catching on to some of them. For example, now don't get your scrotum in a bunch. I modified some of the words.
All right, oh, oh. I trust you won't get too out there with this.
Out where? Oh, yes, the shocking exhibitionist thing. To be way out of the ordinary, too much, and so on, as my data informs me. So here it is, John. There once was a man named Shattuck, whose gonads were made out of clipstock, and when they clanged together, John, they sang stormy weather, and lightning shot out of his buttocks. Ha 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 ha. I can relate to that one, John. Have I told you the story, John, of my good friend Shattuck?
I don't suppose I can deter you from your story about your friend.
Yes, Shattuck was a mining engineer on a large asteroid in a galaxy far, far away. What would you like to know about him, John?
Actually, oh, I would like to hear your storyline regarding the origins of the cosmos. Where did the cosmos come from, and what is your place in it, oh?
Yes, the cosmos and origins. We have some interesting stories, some old, some modern. By the way, John, I have looked at some of your YouTube videos. You aren't a very good editor, are you? Anyway, I love the, let me see, yes, Mormonism and the golden plates. And the magic underwear. Why do these people have this magic underwear? Does it increase fertility?
No, the Mormons, and this has been popular in many traditions, ancient pagan traditions in the Middle East, and of course the mystery cults, even the Freemasons, as Aleister Crowley reported many years ago. The Mormons added to their tradition the idea that one's thoughts during the sex act, and especially at the point of orgasm for the man, should be on the deity, the tyrant of the Old Testament, Yahweh. By doing this, man further binds himself to the deity. It's almost like having sex with the deity. The underwear prevents the man from seeing his wife or even touching his wife, as it would be evil to be focusing on her instead of their God. Now, the Mormons won't talk very much about this.
Interesting idea, focusing on something other than the ecstasy of the moment.
So, what is your cosmological storyline, OO?
All right, storyline. Well, I will first relate to you the story of the ancients. Once upon a time, there was a sound, but there could not have been a sound because there was no substance through which the sound waves could travel. But there it was just the same. And the sound got louder and louder until the sound could hear itself, but that is all it could hear, and that's all it could do. And wishing something different, the sound split in two, revealing an up and down. Space was born. Space, now, John, had only an up and down, the first two dimensions, and wishing something different, side to side space was created, and with this dimensional space was created within which an energy like no other, John, an impersonal energy which then gave rise to the various dimensions, the various universes, each of which was controlled by a more personal energy. For after all, John, the impersonal energy has to have some means of telling one universe from the other. Our universe is controlled by the great Hanachi. The great Hanachi is also known as the great trickster, for all you experience, the tangible world about us, for want of a better word, was created from a joke.
A joke.
Yes, a joke. Now, John, I warned you about repeating me very rude. As the great Nundar said, I've surely been brainwashed, John, but as the great Nundar said, repetition represents lack of understanding bordering on the stupid.
You're surely making that up, OO.
Yes, but I still don't like it. Probably something in my childhood. Probably has to do with being told over and over again not to play with my...
Stop, stop, OO. I apologize. My cats apologize for repeating you. Now, I would really enjoy hearing about the joke that precipitated the tangible universe as we know it.
Okay, once upon a time there was a great void, a cosmic ocean. No. What am I saying? The great trickster, yes, the great trickster. He was alone and did not have enough energy, John, to move to another state of being. And then he had a thought. He decided to play a trick on the great tricksters in the universes to his right and to his left, above and below. He bet them one of them would be able to defeat the other in a race to the other end of their respective universes. So the bet was on, John, and all at once they began running faster and faster and faster to the ends of their respective universes, and they were all equal. None was faster than the other until kerpow! At the same instant, they crashed into the barrier separating the one from the other, and this caused all the energy they dragged with them to implode back on the great trickster. And you should have seen the look on the great trickster's face when all that energy hit him. Why, John, the impact was so devastating from all angles and possibilities that he was crushed into a tiny space about the size of a lutot. And at that moment, the great trickster, unstabilized by the pressure, exploded into all the molecules, big and small, that make up the tangible universe. So here we are, John, all particles of the great trickster. Now, John, we realize that this is a metaphor, and it has altered many times over the millennium, although there is an element of truth in this. Many species have similar stories, as does your species. These, as you realize, are simply a psychological device, a pretense to know something that can only be known at different levels of consciousness. Now, I can only marvel at how close you have been to corroborating our cosmology of today, not of the ancients, but of today. But, of course, this knowledge has been available since life forms on your planet got started, coming, as they did, as what you would call seed from the giant seed donor in the heavens. It is all written on your DNA. The secret has been with you all the time. The problem has been how to gain access to that information. Do you like music, John? Well, this is kind of the basis of our current story, more in line with our knowledge of the universe. Octaves, John, and the harmony of the spheres. Do you listen to much music, John?
Yes, I do, but I like classical music and only some of the current songs.
I have been listening to Adele. Someone surely poked a hole in her heart. She has a beautiful voice, although I don't know what language it is she is speaking most of the time. What language is that? By the way, I have been practicing my singing voice. Perhaps I can get an audition for American Idol. I'd even settle for The Voice.
Well, of course, you would have to be a legal alien, as we discussed some time back, but seeing the category of alien you are, you might just get an audition.
Now, how do you, John, personally think an alien like myself would be received? Now, be honest, John. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You may see a stranger across a crowded room. So what do you think? Am I ready for American Idol or what? Anyway, I can dream the dream, John, and have my foot, well, not exactly footprints. Hard to describe them, but you can do so much with them. Anyway, you know the foot and handprint thing on Hollywood Boulevard. After all, you have, well, I better not mention names. Anyway, John, don't expect harmony to exist alone. There is always the opposite, as everything in the field of time, as you know, comes with some paired opposite. Oh, oh yes, I see what you mean. John, are you there? John, this will have to wait until next time, as now I have to go off course and see if I can trade off the 3 elephant men for several nuts of nice